You're in your 17th year. Tom Brady and Drew Brees playing into their 40s. Is that something you're thinking about?
Honestly, after missing last year, I don't even want to look past this year. I've always said I'll honor my contract, which is one more year. But right now, after not playing last year, you asked me that, what do you appreciate? I appreciate every week. I mean, just one game at a time, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just taking it one game at a time and enjoying this season because, as I saw last year, it's just not promised. Tomorrow's not promised, let alone next week.
And good morning, everybody, and happy Sunday NFL Game Day kickoff. Shout out to everybody joining in right now. This is the Mastio Podcast. We, of course, meet Charles Prodigy, Richey right now. We're ready to go into week number 2 of the 101st NFL season coming up. Shortly today, in less than a couple hours, we're going to be having the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Denver Broncos. The Steelers will be looking to go to 16-4 for their home opener since opening up at Heinz Field. The Pittsburgh Steelers, in general, usually when playing the history of their franchise on home openers in their entire history, Pittsburgh Steelers have a record all-time life of 50, 32, and 3. 50, 32, and 3 for a 606 win percent. Since 1969, since Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin, they have been 35, 16, and 0, 686 win percent, and right now looking to pick up their 16th victory of the year at Heinz Field. Got a lot of stuff to get into right now. Like I said, Mike Tomlin, as everyone aware, is 0-2 against Vic Fangio lifetime. But mainly when Vic Fangio was a defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers and the Denver Broncos. I got a few shouts on Instagram I want to acknowledge real quick here. Service, Bull Big Man, hey, what's up, my man? Good hearing from you. Thanks for joining in on the podcast. Miss hearing from you, my man. Hope life is treating you well. I know you're doing fantastic. Thanks for being a significant spark, man. Just always full of energy. Miss you, my man. We also got Steel City West here joining on Instagram Live right now. 2-0 today. Yeah, I hope so. I'm not going to lie. The only thing I have a little bit concerned with about today's game is going to be like the depth of the offensive line right now. It's pretty thinned out right now. Going to be updating that shortly. Hopefully we should be finding out the inactives who's not going to be playing today. But as far as the injury report goes for this game, this is what we know so far. We already do know that 2 players will be ruled out of the game as of right now, one being a starter and then the other being a backup. There are a pair of guards. You got Stefan Wisniewski, who suffered a pec injury, basically a chest injury right there. He's been placed on IR. Now, remember, the biggest thing, just to remind folks for this year when it comes to the IR when being placed on this year, previously before back in 2019 and the previous season, usually when a player would get placed on IR, they'd have to wait until after 8 weeks before they could become eligible to return back. Well, this year, as everyone is aware, during the offseason, the NFL has updated that. And doing everything with COVID, the biggest thing is now the player gets placed on the injured reserve. They usually could wait now after 3 weeks of being eligible. So in this case, Stefan Wisniewski, who was actually placed on Friday, and this was confirmed by Misty Matthews, the earliest he'll be able to return will be when they're at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. When we look at it, that game will be October 11th right there. So that's an interesting thing right there. So, you're going down a little thin for right now. But like I said, that's the only part I'm a little bit concerned because when you look at this offensive line right now, like who else you got? You got Zach Banner. It looks like his season is done right now. So you're probably going to, Chuks Okorafor, I would imagine, will be in that slot in there. But of course, still without David DeCastro, who's basically your right guard. So Kevin Dotson, I think he's going to be making his first start today, I want to say. These are definitely some interesting times right now. And I'm not going to lie. I don't think this game is going to be that much of a gimme as people may think. And I just really think only simply because of the fact that what's up, Sean Len? Thank you very much for the like for this game. I'm just looking at it this way. I mean, Vic Fangio has been pretty much a defensive guy for like his career. I mean, finally getting that head coaching experience with the Denver Broncos beginning of last season. But still, I mean, it's interesting how he seems to have Mike Tomlin's number. I mean, when their teams do go up head-to-head versus each other. And I definitely do feel like, I mean, going up against the Broncos too, I mean, when we look at, I mean, they're definitely an annoying rivalry where they really definitely challenge the Steelers in a lot of ways, if you ask me. I feel like for this, because when you look at the all-time head-to-head matchup versus the Denver Broncos, Steelers are 9 games under 500 versus them, 11-20-1, which includes a win-loss record all-time of 6-7. But for Mike Tomlin playing against his team at home, 1-0. The only time they played the Broncos at home was 5 years ago, back in 2015, late December, 5 days before Christmas right there. You saw the Steelers come from behind in that game. They went on to win that game 34-27. And right now, we'll see what happens for right now. But I mean that's what's going on for the time being as we look at it for this being. I mean, Steelers definitely trying to look in and see what's going to be happening for the time being, but we'll find out how this continues to work itself out. I mean, for this for this game as they look to go in, look to keep it rolling and everything for right now. But yeah, I'm definitely a lot more intrigued about how we figure things out and see what's going to be happening for this time being. And for right now, we'll see how this continues to work itself out. I mean, for the Steelers to go pick up their second victory of the season, looking to keep things rolling for right now. Once again, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey for the Metal Steel Podcast. On Twitter, it is at Metal Steel CGR. And on Instagram, at Metal Steel Nations, we take a look at more stuff going in. And I want to just talk about, there's a lot more issues going on, too, that seem to be making headlines for this day when we look at it. And we'll find out. I mean, for right now, we'll see what happens. I mean, in this contest, I definitely feel like it's going to be a very interesting one for right now. And like I said, I just feel when we get into this contest, I mean, playing against a team like the Broncos. I mean, here's some of the other stuff that was going into this game. I mean, right now, when we look at it, let's go into the rest of the players who are on the injury report going into this game. So we already know that there'll be about 2 players, Pittsburgh Steelers, Stefan Wisniewski, and of course, David DeCastro, tested knee injury. They're ruled out for today's game. The Broncos, they will be without 2 of their stars, along with 2 being questionable. Left tackle Garrett Bowles, elbow, and wide receiver Cortland Sutton, who has a shoulder injury, and backup wide receiver Tyree Cleveland. So they have 3 guys who are out. Tyree Cleveland has a hip injury. No, excuse me. They'll be without 2 of their guys for the Denver Broncos. So for the Broncos, once again, they'll be out without A.J. Boye. And then, of course, they'll be out without Garrett Bowles. And then, of course, inside linebacker, backup inside linebacker, Mark Barron. Other than that, you got a pair of guys who are questionable for today's matchup for the Denver Broncos. You got Garrett Bowles and Tyree Cleveland, elbow and hip injury. And then you got Cortland Sutton, wide receiver. So we're going to get into like the keys to this game plan in just a moment here. But anyway, I want to hear everybody's thoughts on what's been happening as far as like with this whole thing where everybody was agreeing to support back earlier in the week and the beginning of the season. This team seems like a little drama comes up once again where Alejandro Villanueva, and of course Marquise Ponce as well. El Villanueva got nailed on social media following his decision to replace the name of Antoine Rose Jr. on the back of his helmet with that of Sergeant Elwin Cache for Monday night's regular season opener against the Giants. Rose's mother, Michelle Kenny, criticized Villanueva very well so, and said a decorated former Army Ranger, saying his decision showed exactly who he is and that she will hold the Steelers accountable for his actions. And then Art Rooney, he did respond back saying, as an organization, we respect the decisions of each player, coach, and staff member relating how to express themselves on social justice topics, Rooney wrote. We will continue to support our social initiatives to fight against social injustices and systemic racism, not only in our area, but around the country. Along the way, we understand that individually may say or do things that are not universally accepted. There will be uncomfortable conversations, but we will strive to be a force for unity in our efforts to support a more just society. So there you have it right now. The only problem is it's coming up with this. Once again, kind of like 3 years ago, I mean, when you had like the whole heels of Trump lashing out for players taking a knee during the national anthem. Remember when they were playing against that Chicago Bears team back in Soldier Field in Chicago, that was at myself. What ended up happening, he had Alejandro Villanueva. He was out there, I mean, supporting the national anthem right there. And you saw what happened right there. And the thing is, the team made a decision to stand in the locker room. Apparently, he did not do that. I mean, because, you know, since he served overseas, I mean, it kind of made him look a little bit like funky in a way. And it was just awkward in a lot of ways for what happened. But you see, once again, I mean, they were having this Antoine Rose guy who's a victim of for right now when we look at it. But we'll see how this continues to go on, because for right now, because we got a guy like Marquise Ponce who did a lot of work with supporting police and stuff. And the problem is, I mean, like the way it's going out, I mean, you know, like I said, they're trying to show like stand up for against racism. But the problem is, once again, it doesn't seem like it's being done as a unit. And you had Alejandro Villanueva do this like at the last moment. Pull this, I think Mike Tomlin. A few guys were unaware. Marquise Ponce says he was a little bit more unaware about what happened exactly with Antoine Rose. But this is a guy that the Steelers have and the organization has supported and really like wanted to like bring awareness for. So we'll find out what happens in that. But for the time being, when I look at it for right now, listen, the thing is, I mean, remember Mike Tomlin saying that, you know, we're going to do everything we can to right now to like support our players as long as they do it in an appropriate way. The only problem is when we look at this for right now, it just seems like, you know, you're coming out right now looking at a unit that seems like, you know, there's still some sort of division right there. And I just think for a Steelers team, I'm not saying it's going to have much of an effect on their season, but you start to wonder, like, how much, like, communication is starting to get out of hand. I mean, is that something that needs to be put under the microscope for this team? I really do feel like the Steelers I mean, this offseason, they are trained hard as ever together and did a lot. But for right now, they're going to have to continue to prove this for right now, and we'll see what happens. So let's go ahead and get some other topics right now. Remember, just to recap, Stefan Wisniewski, who was ruled out, should be eligible to return against the Eagles game. But at the same time, when we look at this whole depth chart situation for right now, too, when we look at, I mean, when you also got like your right guard, David DeCastro, who's out, still with a knee injury. I mean, Wisniewski's backup left guard to Matt Filer. So I think he'd be like looking to be backing up a core four, maybe slide in. I don't know how that will work exactly, but we'll find out hopefully shortly in due time for this position as we look at it with the offensive line play. Because the thing is, Ben Roethlisberger, glad to see him do well in his first game back. I mean, with everybody. I mean, and just be able to maintain his poise, I mean, this whole time. The only thing is, like, right now, you know what, it's still a chilling reminder what happened last season. Are we going to see, like, a chilling reminder where he gets hurt, he's out for some significant length of time, and you may have to go back to your backup like Mason Rudolph or Yellow Josh Dobbs, who they brought back. Like I said, my only concern is if we ever did get somewhere like Josh Dobbs, he's got the mobility, he knows the playbook, but the only problem is there's a lot of times when he's been out there, he has not finished drives properly, the way I see it. And that's my stance on that. Since placing Wisniewski on IR, they have promoted Derwin Gray from the practice squad, who signed a future reserve contract last season. Derwin Gray, if everyone may recall, he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers back in 2019. When we look at him, he was drafted in the 7th round, 219th, out of Maryland. And like I said, he spent the entire season on the practice squad, basically. So he's going to be called up right now, drafted to like the depth chart. And we'll see what happens from there. So let's go ahead and get into keys for victory for today's game. I definitely want to get into for right now. Key number one going into this game, keep Drew Lock, who a Broncos starting quarterback, under 30 passing attempts. When he's held to under 30 passing attempts, he's 2-1 in his career right there. And I really feel like for right now, I mean, that's going to be very key when you look at a guy like when you look at a guy like Drew Lock right there. A guy, I mean, who's in his second year, drafted in the 2nd round out of Missouri. And you look at this guy right here and see what he's been able to do. I mean, legitimately so far. I mean, he's passed, in his career, I mean, when he's had 30 pass attempts or more for this guy, he has 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio in those contests. And usually when he passed for 30 pass attempts or more in his career, he's 2-1. I mean, he's in his career, he's 1-2 in his career lifetime, especially losing against Monday night to the Tennessee Titans right there. I mean, a lot of that too. I mean, it was just so many missed field goals in that contest right there too. I mean, when you look at Gostkowski right there, I mean, when we look at Stephen Gostkowski, former Patriot kicker, who with the Tennessee Titans, just definitely had an interesting game to say the least right there. I mean, it was just definitely a shaky night right there at the office for a guy like him when we look at it. I mean, that guy, I mean, in that contest, he went 1 for 4 in field goals made, which include missing 1 extra point attempt. So, I mean, clearly the Tennessee Titans in that regard, I mean, they definitely came up on the short end of the stick right now. and we'll see what happens right there. But for right now, like I said, key number one is to hold them under 30 passing attempts. And then also key number two, win the line of scrimmage. Broncos have not allowed a sack in their first game and have rushed for over 107 yards off 26 carries right there in that first game, even though it was a loss right there. But I definitely do think right there, when you also got former Steeler offensive line coach and former Tennessee Titans head coach Mike Munchak right there, you got to very sure believe he knows a lot about Steelers line. He'll be ready to counter in ways, and we'll see how that continues to work. And then key number three, last but not least, I will just say the run game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. For right now, it's going to be interesting to see. I would imagine the Pittsburgh Steelers will continue to go with a hot bang Snow in this game, considering how well he's performed this past Monday against the New York Football Giants. For right now, listen, I think a guy like Benny Snell, I think he was done great down the stretch, in my opinion, when we look at things. And Benny Snell has been a phenomenal back, so far. Lost weight, got himself in tremendous shape. Especially for last year, too, when we look at it. He had 108 rushes for 426 yards with 3.9 yards per attempt. Only got 2 touchdowns for the season. Still without a touchdown for right now, so we'll see how that plays itself out going into this year. Oh, and by the way, the Pittsburgh Steelers have just announced their inactives for today's game. This is just released by Teresa Varley of Steelers.com. Here are the inactives for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. You got quarterback Josh Dobbs, linebacker Ulysses Gilbert, guard David DeCastro, defense tackle Carlos Davis, and tight end Zach Gentry. Those guys will be inactive for today's contest. So that's the good news. So you're going to only be without one starter, which we're already aware of, which is David DeCastro right there. Broncos, Furman. As soon as I hear some information on that, I will tweet that out. But in the meanwhile, since we're about ready to close to wrapping up, I want to hear what's been your favorite Steelers home memories. When starting off at home openers. And right now, when we look at it, what game stands out for you the most? Do you have any recollections? Would it be like, say, I don't know, maybe back in, if I were to look all time, especially like Heinz Field, what memory stands out for you the most? I'd probably say the 2009 one, when they were defending their 6th Super Bowl against the Tennessee Titans right there. Remember Troy Polamalu making a sick one-handed grab interception while going to the ground. Unfortunately, I do remember he did get hurt at the end of that game, but still, it was just a really interesting season. I know they wanted to miss the playoffs, but still, I think it was one that just stood out just because the highlight of the play when we look at for that time. And that's what I'm looking at for right now. Also another favorite game day memory. For me, I'd say the Seattle Seahawks won back in 2011. Well, that's another one right there too. They got humiliated by the Ravens the first week. This was pre-Russell Wilson, but still, back in 2011. The thing I liked about that so much was that the Steelers had 2 shutouts, and 2011 was the last time we've seen a shutout by the Steelers. We're going in like about 9 years so far. This is one of their longest droughts in franchise history, their last one being on Christmas Eve against the St. Louis Rams. They beat the Seahawks 24-0 in that contest back in week number 2. I think that was another memorable one for me in so many ways. It just sent a message who that defense still was and what they're still capable of doing. So we'll find out how that continues to work itself out into the fold for right now. But I mean, other than that, that's what we got going on for this edition here of the Man of Steel podcast right now. As we get a lot more closer to more stuff going on for right now. Once again, if you guys want to follow me on social media, we follow on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey. For the Man of Steel podcast on Twitter, it is at Man of Steel CJR. Instagram at Man of Steel Nation as we continue to look at things for right now. And that's what I'm looking at for this time being when we look at it. So So I want to hear what's your game day plans for today's game? What's everyone doing? How many people are watching from home, going to bars, or hanging around the area around Heinz Field or local Pittsburgh for the people of Pittsburgh? What are your game day plans? What do you guys plan on doing today for this game? I know for me, I'll be definitely watching from Sunday NFL ticket for this season. And definitely get ready to gear up soon here, just in a moment. But for right now, I mean, definitely looking at it for right now. I'll say final score prediction for this Steelers contest today. I'll say give me the Steelers 21-17 to win by 4 points, maybe a field goal. Only just simply put because Mike Tomlin's never gotten a victory against Vic Fangio just yet. But this will be the first time head-to-head battle as head coaches versus head coach versus defense coordinator, the way I see it. So again, this is Charles Prodigy Richey here on the Man of Steel podcast, signing off. I'll be back later on with a post-game show. Feel free to tune in for that. Charles Prodigy Richey of the Man of Steel podcast, signing off. As I always say, don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Heroes. Here we go. I gone.